All right, Cynthia, I tell you what, we have known each other just a few years,
A few.
but you seem to maintain your youth when I have seemed to let it slip away. But there's nothing wrong with that. I think that's good. I'm always a fan of whatever the opposite sex needs to do to maintain their youth.
That's right.
Okay?
I'm fighting it.
I went the other day. I used to, when I lived in Myrtle Beach, I went and get a facial every once in a while. I even got one of those things where they do your toenails, pedicure. Got one of those. A little Japanese lady. I gave her a tip because it was a big job. She had to get out the big cutters, you know. But I'm going to get me. I found me a place here in town the other day where they do the facials.
Oh, wow.
I really like getting a facial. And you may say, John, that's a little feminine. Well, I'm 260 pounds and 66 years old. If I look feminine, everybody else is in trouble. But I think stuff like that, take care of yourself and do what you have to.
That's
because men get off easy. Mm-hmm. I mean, I can get up in the morning and I actually can just get up. You know what I mean? Maybe shave a little if I want to. Takes Janice about an hour.
Yeah.
She got to get everything just right and get going. But men, we just jump up, and I can leave sometimes in the same shirt I slept in. And I'm still okay. I just go right on that. When we travel, sometimes I can wear the same shirt several days.
Nobody sees you.
but it takes a little more work. You've got to do things, and it's not fair. Okay, but it's okay. How long have we known each other?
Well, I started working at the restaurant when I was 15.
15. Man, that was a long time ago.
Yeah.
Was Dad used to come get you and bring you to work.
He did. When we had the biggest snow of
That's
ever.
yep.
It was the great big snow, and it was so cold.
Yeah.
And he come and picked me up. And I remember the night I come home, we had a coal furnace.
Right.
So I got a blanket and got on that vent. I was froze, but it was worth it.
Yeah.
Loved it.
When I started that little restaurant over at War, when I started that van, when I done that, I bought that van up at Bluefield beside of a little convenience store. Mm-hmm. And I brought it home and parked it in the driveway. And everybody, the whole family, nobody was with me, okay? And Janice wasn't. Nobody was for me, okay? And we had an old bathhouse, a trailer, where everybody took a shower in, and I went and took the Formica off the walls and brought it and used it on the wall in there.
Yeah, that's what you have there.
And when I wired it up, I just sort of twisted the wires together on stuff. And I remember it catching on fire and burning, and the dad fixing it, him going back and fixing it. And I had a jigsaw, and I had it parked in the driveway. I lived out here in an apartment belonging to Don Dunford, and had it parked in the driveway. And they got me a jigsaw, and I cut a hole in the side of it and went to, I don't know if it's Lowe's or wherever I got my windows at, put some sliding windows in it, and just started building the counters, and never didn't have no more idea how to do it than a man in the moon. You know what I mean?
It worked.
I just kept on going with this stuff. And when I parked it, I planned on traveling with it, taking it places and selling hot dogs. Mm-hmm. But it couldn't. Once you stopped, it was fascinating.
What year was that truck?
Oh, Lord. That was a 56.
Wow.
56 Chevrolet, 6-cylinder, 4-speed.
Very small.
But I bought it up there at the and I came. The floor was cold when it had aluminum floor in it.
It was cold.
And finally, when you put refrigerators and freezer and 2 double bowl sinks inside of it,
You could turn around a couple times and that's it.
But the best thing about it was having it small.
Mm-hmm.
We built one. I built one that was a little bigger, and it was awkward. Mm-hmm. So much.
Once you
movement.
get used to that, it's hard to.
Yeah. Once you turn around, do this,
Yeah.
turn around, do this, turn around and wait on somebody, and turn around and fix food.
Yeah.
It just worked out better.
And we had a system.
Yeah.
We know how to do it. You told us where to put our tomatoes and our lettuce.
Right.
And
It was cool.
I remember you telling us how to make a hamburger,
Right.
a
Yeah.
Big John.
I had exact systems. I had things laid out in my mind how I wanted things done, and if I knew if we stayed with that system, it would work. But it was golly. I was thinking the other day. I think I had 7 or 8 of those when I got done. It was I was supposed to take my medicine. But I think about things in our life, the stuff that we done and lived through. I don't know. So where did you go from there?
Well, I worked at War first, and then we come out here, didn't we?
Tazewell.
And then we went to Silver Skillet.
Right.
Did you get Shirley's recipe for that cornbread dressing? She wouldn't give it to
No,
nobody.
I don't know if I did or not.
Gosh, it was so good.
It was good. Yes,
it was the best.
good. It was good.
And then I think I worked a couple of times in Claypool Hill. And then I went to North Carolina, and you as my reference.
What did you do in North Carolina?
I worked at restaurants,
Uh-huh.
all kinds. I worked at Denny's. I
Yeah.
worked at seafood places.
Yeah.
But the food truck was
Yeah.
my heart.
You know, once you start working in restaurants, you know, you can always go back to that.
Yeah.
You might do a lot of other things in between it.
Yeah.
Okay. But you know, I can always go back here and
Mm-hmm.
do this.
Well, it was a love that I got when we first started. I mean, I remember so much about that time. I remember one time making Big John's and them calling and saying there was no burger on it.
Where's the beef?
No burger. And that was a big joke at the time, but it was cool.
Yeah.
But that was my love, yeah.
So you went on to North Carolina. This is the thing when I think about you. Okay. You are a survivor. Mm-hmm. Okay, by God, that's important.
It is.
All right? I mean, I'm telling you now, some people don't have that grit in their drawers.
It's
Okay?
hard.
And they don't have it, though. And you what a great gift that is.
Yeah.
And what a part of that you think about in your life. I was talking to somebody about you, and I said, you could sit. Who was I talking to? I was talking to my eye doctor the other day. I was talking about people I was going to interview. And I said, she said, well, who is she? I said, let me tell you, you could sit the girl on a flat rock, and she'd be selling gravels.
Yeah.
Okay? And a lot of people don't have that, Cynthia.
My dad said that. He said you could sell an Eskimo refrigerator.
Yeah.
I sold vacuum cleaners when I was in North Carolina. I sold rainbows.
Uh-huh.
And I got my picture in the book that went all over the world.
Right.
And I worked in the office, and then I sold vacuum cleaners, and I had my whole family selling for me.
Right.
So I made a lot of money selling vacuum cleaners. But I brought one home to Dad, and I said, Dad, I want to show you this vacuum cleaner. He said, I'm not buying that vacuum cleaner. He said, that is too expensive. I said, okay, Dad, just let me show it to you because I need to practice.
Yeah.
He had just put new carpet down in the living room. And I said, Dad, I'm going to show you how this works. And I pulled dirt out of his carpet. And he goes, this carpet's brand new. How'd you do that? I said, your vacuum cleaner don't work. He goes, what do you mean my vacuum cleaner don't work? I said, Dad, look. I mean, this is proof it don't work. And he goes, I'm not buying it. I said, okay. I said, but my mom said not to take nothing that wasn't mine. And I'm putting this back in your carpet. And he goes, I'll buy it. So I sold Dad a vacuum cleaner. Then years later, I've sold cars and sold Mom a car.
Right?
And I've sold everything. Avon, Mary Kay,
Yeah.
pots and pans. I sold like 8 sets of $1,600 pots and pans in my kitchen one time.
Gee. You know, I went places before where they had those displays on the pots and pans, like at the fair and things like
Yeah.
that. And you're sitting there, you're sort of encapsulated by the guy because they have great
Entertainment.
They really are great. You watch them cook, and then all of a sudden they say, okay, let's go over this. You can finance it for $54 a month for 80 months. And I'm thinking, how much are these pots and pans? And all of a sudden you try to ease up and get up real fast and get out of there.
Yeah, they were like $1,600 for the set. And I sold all my neighbors a set.
Yeah.
I sold Mom a set. I sold everybody a set.
Yeah.
And, they were great, but I didn't use them that much.
Yeah.
I mean, I like to cook in a little place,
Right.
not a big place.
Right. I'm real funny about what I cook in my cooking, what I cook on, okay, because I got my stuff. When I started cooking in 2020, when everybody got the plague, I started cooking because I was inspired by a guy on the internet. I called him Drunk Steve. He's got about 3 million followers, okay? But anyway, he would drink a few beers and he'd be cooking out somewhere. And I said, I believe I can do that. So I rearranged every cabinet in the house and put lights, motion lights and everything, but I'm real particular about my pots and pans. Connie bought me a set of pots and pans, which was crazy for her to do. And she got them at Ollie's. Mm-hmm. And I said, oh, Lord. I'm going to hurt Connie's. I'm not going to hurt her feelings. I'm going to have to use them. And they have been the best set of pots and pans. I've used those things, and I can wipe them out with a paper towel and wash them so easy. And I thought, and I just started getting rid of other stuff in there. But you think about selling stuff, and you think about, to sell vacuum cleaners.
Yeah, I sold rainbows.
Think about that nowadays. You get put in jail. Mm-hmm. Anybody, if you come knocking on the door and want to sell them a vacuum cleaner?
I went to a house one time, and it was an old house, and my boss called me, and because I always kept one in the car. He called and he said, "Can you go do this real quick?" And I said, "Sure, I'll go do it." So I go to the house, and when I get to the door, they said, "Watch out!" They had ostriches in their house.
Okay.
They had parrots everywhere lined up on the wall. It was so funny. And they were whistling at me, and the house was terrible. I mean, if I tried to pull dirt in that house, the whole house would have fell. And I just took it out of the box and set it on the table, and I said, "This is what it is. This is how it works. Put water here." And I said, "If you want it, $1,600, and that was it. But, they wanted free vacations. So it didn't really matter.
You think about that. So you had a journey when you left and you went to North Carolina. Okay. Did you know somebody in North Carolina before you went?
My cousin was down there,
Okay.
and we moved down there, and we got this old single wide. It was like a 1960-some, I don't know. It was terrible. And we worked for months trying to get that thing just livable. Right. And then we moved to another apartment, and I met my best friend there. We've been friends for 35 years.
Yeah.
And we moved from that place to another place together. So it's been awesome. I mean, it was. And then after I did that, I taught preschool, and then I done after school program, and then I became a nanny.
Yeah.
And somehow I ended up being the pastor. I don't know how that happened, but anyway, it's another story.
If you can sell vacuum cleaners, you can pastor a church. It's about the same thing.
It's
trying to keep everybody happy.
Yeah.
But, and I think you think about those things in your life, this journey that you go on. Okay. When you think about your life, what is the inspiration when you think about early on? And I know there's multiple things. We can't narrow it down to one thing. What are some inspirations that you've had in your life early on?
Well, like I said, the when I was working for y'all, it was like that was just, I don't know, it captured something in me. It's just because I look back on it and I think about the things I did. I was only like 15, and I remember working and getting my first paycheck.
Right.
And I worked a lot of hours because there was some things going on and with Patty's family.
Right.
And so I worked the shift then, and I made like $400 that week, and I was like, man, here I am, 15 years old, and I got $400.
Right.
And it was right at the time of school, and I was able to buy my school clothes, and I just look back on stuff like that, and I'm like, man, that was the good old days.
Yeah.
That was, I don't know, I just loved it.
It builds grit.
It does. I love it. I mean,
Yeah. And I worry that might be missing nowadays.
It is.
And people growing up sometimes. And a lot of it, I believe, is our fault. Mm-hmm. I mean, we have to take the credit. If we take the glory, we take the blame.
Yeah.
And, I mean, because I believe your hard times make you strong. Mm-hmm. Okay? Now, it don't mean we like them, but, I mean, they make you strong. They cause you have that part of you that's come through those things. They turned my water off 3 times one year in the house I lived in.
Yeah.
While I was preaching the gospel.
Oh, yeah.
They turned the water off because I couldn't pay the bill.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd have to come home and go out and take a wrench and reach down and turn the water on so we could take a shower and then turn it back off until I could pay the bill. They come to my house and got that's when they would come to your house and turn your power off. Not like now, how they sneak and turn it off remotely.
Yeah.
But I had to give the man the money at the Appalachian Power Man so he'd keep the power on.
Yeah.
And, those things. So when I look at things now, I think, how is that big of a deal? But I think we can become soft.
Well, I think I was thinking about this earlier. I was thinking about the job. When I worked at the restaurant back then, it was almost like when you're like, with me, I felt like, it was my business. I worked there, and it was kind of like, it was mine, and I treated it like it was mine. Right. And I think that's what's missing today. Kids they don't go to work and say, you know what, I'm going to do the best job, because they don't have that connection. Yeah. And I've always put my heart into everything. Right. If I do something, I want my heart in it.
Yeah.
And
I think that makes sense. That's what separates you from the crowd in your life. And I think about everybody's ever worked for me. I've always wanted you to be that way. I mean, Connie been with me for I don't know how many years now. Her twin sister was with me, and then a guy come and stole her and married her, and Connie come to work for me. But I mean, everything I do, this is hers.
Right.
I look at it like hers, and all of our kids are held to contract. If we fall dead, Connie's family.
Right.
Okay, and we treat people that work for us, I believe, like that. And I wanted it instilled in people's hearts and lives, and you can't fake that.
No.
Okay, there's things in people's lives that when you look at having that, and I worry that in a generation that somehow, like you said, that's missing.
It is.
It's really missing.
All they're caring about is the paycheck. They're not worrying about doing. I mean, I remember getting out there, and if we wasn't busy, I remember one time we had the wood for the drive-through, had wood, and I was like, let's get out there and paint that. We was excited about making the place look good. That was something we enjoyed doing, and me and Patty got out there and started painting, and it wasn't like a job.
Right.
It was family, and I was thinking about all the people that we worked with, and you look at them now, and it's like, wow.
Yeah, and that worries me some. I don't know. I think about those things in our life. I think about the journey that we've been on, and when you think about the things that you've been through, and you think about pastoring a church. Okay, well, you pastored before, but you're not a pastor now. I believe because there's chapters and seasons.
Yeah.
And if you don't recognize the season, you'll be standing in the snow in a T-shirt.
Right.
You got to recognize the season. I was called to pastor one church. One church. Not a pastor, but one church. Now, there's a lot of pastors I know that are really good pastors, okay? Lawrence Hayes, a pastor, okay? I think about people that I know out there, that are pastors. That are called to do that are really good at that. And I was just called to pastor a 120-year-old little building on the bad side of town at the time with 4 foot of water in the basement and every window busted out.
And the furnace was upside down.
I couldn't figure out why was the Lord mad at me, okay? I had went down on a Sunday morning. Furnace kick off at night, old furnace. Kick off at night, and the water had froze in the basement. And I have to take off my shoes and socks and roll my pants up, break through the ice and get over to the furnace so I could reset it, and it go boop, 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 boop. How them old furnaces do when you think, are they going to blow or are they going to go? And get everything going, and then go back over and dry my feet off and get ready to go up and preach on Sunday morning.
Yeah, and that's hard to preach like that, isn't it?
You're thinking...
You're like, really, God?
Yeah.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
I've been there.
Yeah, you think
my pastor told me, like, when I had the church in Square, he told me, he said, because I've sat under him and my first lady for, 25, 26 years. And he said, I knew it was time for the church to stop there. And, when you go and there's nobody there, and, I've had a hard time being accepted, but my pastor said, you know what, you're still a pastor. He said, you might not have a church, but you still pastor under the leadership of them. Right. So, they still, if I want to go home and preach, I can.
Right. I rented an auditorium one time, big auditorium in Alabama. I had a teen with me, teens that sing and praise and worship, and Glenn Krieger was with me, and I had a whole team with me, okay? Hammond organ, Leslie, everything set up, all my sound set up. And I had an old Dodge motorhome, hauled everybody around in. Rented a nice auditorium, put my brochures all over town. And got ready for the service that night, got my suit on, my black suit. Got out there, nobody, okay? Nobody showed up. And I said, phew. So we sang, preached, went right on. And I said, Lord, I missed you.
Yeah.
He said, no, you've not missed me. He said, obedience is not in the response of others.
Yeah.
But it's in you doing what I've told you to do. He said, now rent it one more night. So I did. It's all the money I had. I rented it one more night. I got ready. I was excited. And got ready. I walk out. Nobody again. And I said, Lord, he said, I knew you didn't learn the first time. And after that, I've really found that success has nothing to do with the response of others. If it was, Noah was a failure.
Right.
Okay?
I figured that out too, because I would go to church sometimes and it would be me. Just me.
Yeah.
And I'd go in and I'd open up the doors, I'd turn on the lights, I'd kick the water on, and, the church was clean, and, I'd be there, and 7 o'clock would come and nobody'd be there, and I was like, okay. Pastor always said, you know what, if nobody's there, you preach to the walls. Right. So I'd get on the piano, and not my calling, but I got on the piano, I played my music, I sang, and I give my little message, and I went home.
Yeah.
But, I did what God told me to do.
Right.
That's what he told me to do, so I did it. And I was like, God, why do you send me here? You know, I was happy where I was at. You know, our church in North Carolina, we had a church in Monroe, we had one in Kannapolis, one in Concord, and then we had the one in West Virginia. And I said, why would you take me out of a church and send me here? And there is nobody here. I don't get it. But, you know, it wasn't for me to understand. It was just for me to do.
Right. Well, you know, it's about you.
Yeah.
So many times we think that, now I'm of the nature, and it's all right if we don't agree. Okay, I'm all right with that. See, I don't think that God picks like a man and a woman. Okay, I'm not real big on believing that God picks a husband and a wife and calls them both. And that's okay,
Yeah.
okay? Because what I believe is God sees you, he sees me.
Right.
And I seen a guy one time told me, you know, his wife got real sick, and he said, you know, I believe that God took her, so I would go on in the ministry and do what I said. And I said, buddy, you think a lot of yourself. You think God killed your wife so you would go on and preach. I said, I've never heard you preach, but I'm sure it ain't that good.
Yeah.
You know, and I think sometimes I believe that God sees us as individuals, and he picks us that way. And so much of our life, I just think so much simpler too, you know, in this thing, and be good to a few people, as good as you can be. And when you can't get out of the way,
Right.
okay, just go and get out of the way,
That's
and it's
right.
okay. And that's my philosophy.
And that's kind of the way I've got lately. I mean, I didn't used to be like that, you know, because I'm real easygoing, but, and I'm still easygoing, but I've got to the point to where I can say, you know what, you know, enough's enough.
Exactly.
You know,
I believe you have to.
You have
You know,
to.
because what it is
The Bible says mark them and avoid them. So, you know, once you learn, you know, you gotta separate.
Yeah.
And that's just like the church in the square. I mean, like, people would say, well, why don't you have revivals? Why don't you get all these ministers coming in? I said, well, God didn't tell me to have all these ministers to come in. You know, I'm traveling every other week to come here and preach. And, you know, he didn't tell me to have somebody else to come.
Right.
Why is he sending me if he wanted somebody else to do it?
Right.
And my pastor always said, you know, it's okay to have people come in. He said, but what happens is, when you have all these people coming in and then they have a gift and they're using their prophecy and they're using their gifts, they're either going to stay or they're going to follow.
Right.
And, you know, you're building your ministry that God said. You're
Right.
not building somebody else's.
Right.
So I never really let a lot of people in my pulpit
Right.
because that was my job. So that's what I did. And what could you do?
I think, too, the thing is, you know, actually, if we'll be good to a few people, be nice to a few people. Because, you know, I've been to funerals where nobody missed the people who died.
Right.
Okay? And if you can actually be there and somebody will say, you know, that girl was good to me. Or she was kind to me. Or, man, you know, and I hear a lot of lies at funerals. You know, we all do. You know, they brighten the room up every time they walked in. I'm thinking, man, I was at a funeral one time, and this lady, she was pretty mean. Anyway, she had threatened me several times, and she was pretty mean. But anyway, they asked Dad to come and sing at it. So we went to it. It's over in West Virginia. We went up to the funeral. Dad said, won't you go with me? I said, I really don't want to. He said, go with me. So I went and I sat down. So Dad sung, and they said, Brother Dash, say something. I said, I'd rather not. And they said, oh, we want you to say something. I said, I'd rather not, you know. And so finally they kept on prodding me. I said, all right. I said, first thing is, that woman was mean. And I said, if she bats one eye, I'm out of here. I said, because she was mean as a snake. And everybody got the amen and then because I was telling the truth. But I mean, you know, there's a time I believe in our life. There's people I know that I really miss, okay? Yeah. They were, you know, I mean, I can live without them, okay? I'm not going to the mountains in sackcloth and ashes because they're gone.
Right.
But I mean, I miss them, okay? I like them. They was really cool. You know what I mean? And I enjoyed being with them, you know, and I think that in our life, if we can live up to that standard, we've really done something. I think sometimes people just need to be nice. Before you're a prophet, be kind.
That's right.
Okay?
And if you don't want to be set free, don't listen to the truth. You know what I'm saying? Because the truth will set you free, but it'll hurt your feelings first.
Well, all right, so you come to me and you say, John, if you quit eating them biscuits and gravy, and my doctor told me that. She said, you would see a big difference if you wouldn't eat them biscuit and gravy and that sausage biscuit in the morning. I said, yes, I would. I would be very mad by lunchtime.
Right.
I know the truth, but I don't want to be set free. I want to eat that biscuit. Now I'll go
Right.
back to the gym and work out for an hour and a half, and then I'm going to eat my biscuit. But there's things in life, most times we know the truth.
Yeah.
Okay, and that's like when it comes to relationships and people around us, and man, we know the truth, and
Yeah.
and
That's true.
and some things I don't know. I'm pretty lenient, okay, and my wife says I'd make an excuse for Charles Manson, okay, but
It sounds like me.
I'm pretty lenient, and I try to be nice to people and be a little kind to you, and give you a chance and take my foot off people's. You got to take your foot off their throat
Yeah.
and give them a shot. And figure out what's that big of a deal. You know, when we played and we were young, we'd throw rocks at each other. And I've been hit in the head. I've got places all over my head where I've been hit with rocks.
Yeah.
We were serious about our playing. Okay, so that's pretty tough. Now if somebody says something to somebody, they have a nervous breakdown.
Yeah.
And I don't know. It's big for me.
Well, my aunt always said that there's always something good in everybody. And I'm like, well, why does God take, all the good ones first? And then I said, oh, now I know why. Because he's trying to fix the ones that's so bad. So that's why he takes the good ones first.
One time we gave out over 3 million pounds of food one year, Janice and I did. And I paid for a lot of it out of our pocket. And there was no way we could take enough money to do that. And people would cuss me sometimes because they didn't get the right stuff they wanted or stuff like that. And so I just go on with it. And God told me one time, he said, son, thank you for being good to the ravens because anybody will be kind to the doves.
Yeah.
And because sometimes, and this is what I found too, is sometimes Connie jumps on me sometimes when I say, we got to be easy with people. And she'll say, and we'll argue about it sometimes. And I say, because I know this, sometimes I get a little ragged, okay? I get a little ragged, and I get a little, especially if my sugar's a little off, I'll get a little ragged, and I want somebody to be kind to me and take time with me.
Yeah.
And in my life, there's been people that when I was out of sorts, took time with me.
Right.
And I want to do the same thing and try to work through that a little bit sometimes. And she says, "Well, why aren't you patient with me?" I said, "That's different. I expect more out of you.
You're like my kid.
I expect more out of you." Okay.
Well, I remember working for you, and you was tough on us sometimes, but it didn't hurt us.
Right.
It was good for us.
It was a system.
You have to learn discipline.
Right.
That's like, I remember one time you bought a tomato slicer, and he was like, check this tomato out. And, you put that tomato in there, and you hit that thing, and it would slice that tomato perfect. And I was like, wow. And you said, you know how much money I'm saving on this thing? You know how much a slice of this tomato costs? And I was like, that makes sense. But I never seen another one of those things.
Yeah, I loved it.
I never seen another one of those.
That's the best little thing you
ever.
had. You
But you could slice one tomato, and it'd be like 25 slices.
And you knew how much money you were making, all right?
Well, maybe not 25 slices, but pretty close.
You knew exactly. I remember one time I seen a potato peeler. That was something else where we had one silver skillet where you just drop all them potatoes in and it took the peeling off.
Yeah.
I was fascinated by that thing.
I love the silver
Doesn't matter
skillet.
that.
I met some really cool people there. The lady that was on the bus that wrecked in war over the mountain, it killed all those kids years and years ago. I met them at the Silver Skillet, and they were probably in their 70s when I met them.
Right.
And we become really good friends. They told me where they lived, and I went to their house, and we bought Christmas presents for each other.
Yeah.
And they lived up on the four lane going to Bluefield. And they told us all about that bus accident that happened, and all that happened because of the restaurant. I don't never meet a stranger.
It's funny, and you don't.
I don't.
You got that person, and that is a gift.
Yeah, I don't.
We got to know that there's a gift about that. I mean, as you get older, my point, I talk to more people at the gas pump than you got any idea.
Me too.
Especially if I pull in the camper. I start talking about it and how much gas mileage you get and where you're going and what this person's doing. I just sit and talk to them, about stuff, and I enjoy people. I really like people.
I do too. And my son told me when he was little, we'd say, don't talk to strangers, don't do this. And I remember taking him to a Pizza Hut when he was real little. We sit there, and there was this old man. He was sitting behind us, and he just talked to us, and we talked to him. We probably was there like an hour talking to this old man.
Yeah.
We got in the car, and Brandon says, "Mom, do you know him?" I said, "We do now." Because I'll talk to a tree, but I'll talk back.
Yeah. I think it's, and I found that sometimes there's people that like to talk and want to talk
Yeah.
about things, and we got to take time and do that, man. We get in such a hurry.
Yeah.
It's so easy to get in a hurry.
And my
it's
son's
easy.
total opposite.
Yeah.
He don't want to talk to nobody. He's not a people person.
Right.
Yeah, but it's a different generation.
Yeah.
Like, we was talking about earlier, he looks at people and he's like, Mom, everybody's got issues, everybody's got baggage, and it's not like you grew up with your high school sweetheart and you married her and you lived happily ever after. Now you meet somebody online and they come with all of this, and Brandon said it's just different.
Yeah.
You don't wear their high school ring, and so
And that's heartbreaking.
it is.
Okay, when you
because
think
that
about
era's
stuff,
gone.
You think about, and we took that for granted. I mean, there was a sort of a thing that in our life that we take for granted as we go through those things. And I don't know. I mean, I think being able to talk to people. Now you have a way though linking up harder than I do. I'll talk to them at the gas pump and go on with them. But you have seemed like you've always you have that nature of people. You draw to them, and they draw to you. And I think that's a gift. I think people feel comfortable, and they should feel comfortable with us. But some people are different. You know what I mean? I know that. I mean, I got Kelsey, my youngest daughter. I could sit her down with a homeless person, and she'd talk to him and you'd get a handle, or I could sit her down with the mayor or anybody. She's got that gift about her. She can start talking to them about things. Now Morgan, I could sit them down with them, and she'll get some money from them in just a little bit somehow. All right. I mean, there'll be some way that because she reads the room. Mm-hmm. She's got the gift of that. She'll read the room. Now she won't be as outgoing, but until it comes down to a point. But she can read the room. I remember at a birthday party one time, we took her to a little girl's birthday party, and we were all walking around outside somewhere, and I seen that little girl carrying about 5 or 6 acorns in her hand, the birthday girl. And all of a sudden I looked at Morgan and I said, "Where'd she get?" She said, "I sold them to her, for birthday money." But I mean, she has that gift about her, okay?
I love that.
Now Colson, he'll be hugging you. He never leaves the room without hugging. And there's people that meet him that will cry when they talk about him because he's got that way.
He does. Okay? He is special.
He's natural, and he's got that way about him. He won't leave without telling you that he loves you.
Yeah.
And he'll just go out of his way to
and
make sure
I love
he
to
does.
watch him and her. I mean, they're just so in love.
They can do
and
stuff.
they just bless my heart when I see them.
It's so fun. When they first got married, Colson would move his arm a lot, and she kept a black eye or a knot on her head. And I used to laugh all the time. I said, "You need to quit beating on that little girl." I said, "She ain't big as nothing." But he'd hit her in the head or move his arm like this, and she'd be underneath him, slap her in the head. And the other day they built a table. They built a big dining room table for somebody. Anyway, it fell on her a couple times. Hit her in the head. She had knots on her head. Fell on her and hit her. And I said, "You're too rough on her because she's too little to be rough on."
Them girls are amazing. They are.
When you think about mentors, okay, first thing let's go back farther in family, okay? And I know there's people in who are people in your family that really have inspired you some as you grow up?
My grandma. Because I stayed with her when Mom and Dad worked. And I remember, staying with her. And I look back on things now and I think, wow, she was a really smart lady. She would say, "Let's go take a nap." And I said, "Grandma, I don't want to take a nap."
Yeah.
She said, "I'll tell you what." She said, "I'll take a nap and you play." So she'd get in the bed and I'd get her ashtrays or whatever.
Yeah.
She didn't smoke or nothing, but I would get her little candy dishes and I'd play in them. And I'd get tired playing by myself and I'd just crawl up in the bed and I'd fall asleep. And, back then you didn't have an air conditioner. It was so hot. And I remember I would fall asleep, and when I woke up, I would be soaking wet with sweat, and my grandma would be in the kitchen cooking.
Yeah.
And I'm like, God, she was really smart. She knew how. She didn't force me.
Right.
She didn't make me go to bed. She just kind of, coaxed me into doing that. And then I went to church with her, and I walked to church with her. And I remember one time we was going to church, and we was walking through the tunnel, and I found a $5 bill.
Yeah.
And I said, "Grandma, look." I said, "I found $5. She goes, "What are you going to do with it?" I said, "I'm going to put it in the offering." She said, "You're going to put it in the offering?" I said, "Yeah." She goes, "Okay." And I say this all the time. That $5 has come back so many times in my life. Every time we had a women's conference and they put money under our chairs. I got the envelope out. It's a $5 bill. And I said, "There's that $5 again." It doesn't have to be, big money. I'm talking about just the $5. It reminds me of that every time. I remember that year I got the best Christmas gift. My name got pulled at the Sunday school. And I got the best gift. And I remember my grandma, when I would stay with her, she would pray She would get down on her knees and she would pray. And she didn't pray quietly. She
Right.
prayed loud. There was nobody in the house but me and her.
Right.
And I mean, she would pray loud. So, yeah, she was big. She was
That's
really
good when you
big.
think about those things.
Yeah.
The people that inspire you as you go along.
Yeah, and she would be in the kitchen, and when I'd wake up, she'd be singing "I Feel Like Traveling On."
Right.
You know, and I just look back at those times and think, wow.
What's an early memory? What do you got something to go back? See, I can't hardly remember a lot of stuff early on.
I don't remember a whole lot about my early life except being with my grandma and, you know, that kind of stuff. I don't.
Right. That's weird. And
It is.
you think you could. There's things that they did mold you and shape you, but you can't remember what they are.
Yeah. Well, I remember when Mom was in the hospital and I was staying with my grandma. My dad said, we went to A-Mart. That's when A-Mart first opened over here. And I don't know how many years that's been, but it's been a long
Right.
time. And they had this little pocketbook, and it was yellow and had beads all over it and had little fringes on the bottom. We went to the hospital, and we come back out, and we got all the way to North Tazewell. And I said, I really wanted that little pocketbook. And I was a kid. I mean, I was
Right.
little.
Right.
My grandma said, Dawn, turn this car around. We're going back. So we go back and we get that pocketbook, and I still have that. And I was very little.
Yeah.
And I still have that, and just, I don't know, just look back on things
That's
like
cool
that.
to think about those memories.
Yeah.
You think about them at, where'd you go to school at early on?
Newhall.
Newhall.
Up on the hill.
Yeah.
And every time I'd go out, Mom would say, you've got to put a hat on your head. And as soon as she put the hat on my head, I would take it off as soon as I got out of the way. But, yeah.
Newhall.
Yeah.
How far did they have school there? How long did they go?
Gosh.
Was it junior high too, or just
No,
grade
it just
school?
went to sixth grade.
Sixth grade.
Sixth grade.
Okay.
Then we went to Berwyn.
Berwyn, man, and then you went to there,
And then Big Creek.
and then Big Creek.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. That's something how we, I think about, and those schools are gone.
Yeah,
You
I
know what I
remember when
mean?
the school at Newhall caught on fire.
Right.
We were so happy, you know. We were like, yes, because we could watch it burn, you know. But it didn't last long.
Yeah. It's crazy, ain't it?
My dad built that gym
Huh.
at Newhall.
Man.
And Mom, she was a janitor there years, like when I was in first grade.
Right.
So that's a good memory. Well, it's not really a good memory, but it's a little
Yeah,
early memory.
right.
I remember I was in the first grade, and you remember Miss Kastner?
Yes.
Okay, she was second grade teacher. I was in the first grade, and somebody wrote my name on the bathroom floor with soap. And you're talking about these concrete floors, and they're black. You know, they're
Right,
not like
right.
concrete like we know today. It's
Right.
like old concrete. And my name's all over the bathroom floor, and my mom's working there.
Yeah.
And they come and get me out of class, and they're like, why did you? I was like, Mom said she didn't go down there. I says, no, I'm scared to death to go to the bathroom. They always said there was a man in the freezer down
Right,
there,
right.
and I wouldn't go down there. Well, we found out who it was, but you know that was a really early childhood memory. But Miss
Man.
Kastner paddled me one time.
Did she?
Yeah, I was in the second grade. She paddled me, and it was for no reason. But I forgive her.
I never got paddled for no reason. There's always a reason.
It was really no reason, but you know, I forgive her.
I got him I got pretty good paddlings for the time I was in junior high. Mr. Musser was there too, and then there was someone else. I can't remember who it was, but anyway, man, I can remember getting lit up. I mean, it hit me so hard my feet come off the ground. And then I remember going to high school and getting in trouble in high school, getting a paddling. They turned the intercom on, say John thought it was awful smart of him to do such and such, and then wham, 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 they
Oh,
hit.
wow.
I mean, I'd get paddled.
God, you go to jail for that now.
Oh, yes, yes. I mean, there's things that you think about, but it helped me. I didn't get caught after that. I still done a lot of things, but I didn't get caught.
Well, I was saying the same thing today. I said, I don't ever remember getting whipped when I was a kid. I don't ever remember getting a whipping. My dad would always tell Mom, she's a girl, I don't know how to whip her.
Right.
And Mom didn't whip me. But I wasn't really that bad of a kid.
Right.
We wasn't allowed to do things that kids do now.
Right.
I mean, we didn't sneak out of the house, for God's sake. That wasn't even thought about when we were kids. Skipping school, we really didn't, skip school.
Yeah. I done it one time. I skipped school one time. And me and Jim Shelton, we went up on the hill and we played cards and just tried to occupy our time. And it was very boring. And you know what I mean? And we got hungry, though, up around, the middle of the day. We got hungry. So we said, we'll go down to the house and get something to eat. Got there, and there was my dad and my mom and my grandpa. And very, very upset with me because they were scared. Nobody knew where we were. I didn't think about that. Didn't think about the school. Why are they so nosy? Wanted to call and say we weren't there. And he whooped me so hard I couldn't remember my name.
Oh, wow.
I mean, he put me on the kitchen table. He whooped me all over the place, and then he sent me back to school. I had about an hour left of school. But I never, he said,
That was a bad day.
He said, you do not have to go if you don't want to. He said, all you got to do is say, I don't want to go. But I don't want your mom worrying about you. We don't want to worry about something happening to you. And from then on, I really didn't go much on Mondays or Fridays.
Well, my mom was very protective. I mean, her and Dad was in so much bondage when we were kids, and I don't really know why. But it was we couldn't eat hard candy. We might get choked. We couldn't spend the night with somebody. Their house might burn down.
Right.
We couldn't go anywhere with them because they might get in a car wreck. We, back in the day, you couldn't drink colored pop because it was giving people cancer, and you couldn't eat Pop Rocks because kids were blowing up. I mean, just crazy stuff. So it kind of put us in we couldn't have a swing. We might break our arm.
Right.
So they really put us in a lot of bondage. And it really affected me with my kid, because I'm well, he can't do that because he might get hurt. But
I still didn't want my kids to eat hard candy. It scared me to death.
Oh, yeah.
And
We couldn't eat hard candy either.
Popcorn still scares me.
Yeah.
I can't hardly eat popcorn at the movies. I eat a few bites, and I know I'm going to choke any moment. And Janice sit there and eat a whole bag of it. But I'm sort of, I don't know, I have things that I think about. And you think about that stuff, how we pass those on to our kids.
Yeah, it's bad. I mean, really bad. I didn't let Brandon mow the grass because I'm no, he'll cut his leg off, and he don't know how to use a weed eater.
Right.
And I'm what was I thinking?
That's crazy.
Yeah, it is crazy. But it was just, it was watching my parents do it.
Yeah.
I remember going to go to the movies one night with my friends, and Mom said, if you don't go, I'll let you get your hair cut, and I'll pay for a perm. And I'm I would have still had long hair if you had let me went to the movies, and I'd still be alive.
That's crazy.
And our friends was doing everything. My friends done everything, and I was I didn't do anything. Mom wouldn't even let us say pregnant. That was a bad word. We wasn't allowed to talk about cars because we wasn't old enough.
Right.
So, if you look back on that, you're thinking, wow, what is wrong with kids now?
Yeah.
They talk about everything.
Yeah, sometimes I'll get to talking about a little bit of stuff, and my daughter, Kelsey especially, won't let me talk about it in front of Carter or anything. She'll nail me down. So I said, I'm not talking about anything bad, or I'll get talking about, well, let's talk about advice, okay? What kind of advice would you give to somebody today to look back on their life moving forward? What kind of, when you think about, if you had to say to somebody, if you knew you could tell somebody something and they were going to actually do it in their life, they were going to apply that principle to their life, what would you do?
I would tell them to...
Now, hold on, Sam. Let's stop you first. Nothing about religion.
Right.
Nothing about Christianity. I'm not talking about religion. I'm not talking about praise the Lord. And no, I'm not talking about it. I mean life.
I would tell them to have goals, morals, values, and I would definitely tell them to put God in their life because
Okay.
I mean I can't.
I know that, but that's sort of something we can lean toward. Okay,
Yes.
I understand that. But there's a lot of things outside of that.
Well, I would say whip your kids. It's not going to hurt them.
Right.
I mean, if they need a whooping, go ahead and just not beat them,
Right.
but I mean,
slap them on the rear.
right. I mean, correct them.
Yeah.
And teach them a work ethic because that's important. And it's not going to hurt them to do that.
Yeah.
Don't live in fear.
Yeah.
I mean,
I think you could be able to tell them too. It's not going to hurt them to do without. Okay.
right. Because if you think about it, I was telling Mom today, I said, when we were kids at Christmas time, we didn't I remember getting baby dolls and we'd get maybe an outfit and some socks and stuff like that.
Right.
But it wasn't big Christmases. But you know what? We carried that baby around and we were so happy.
Right.
It wasn't about, oh God, I got to get 15 things for this person,
Right.
15 things for this person. And that's the way it is now. The whole meaning of Christmas has just got blew out of proportion.
Right.
It's all about money. It's not about family,
Right.
traditions, time together. That's what I like.
A little bit deeper on advice, okay? I mean, see, when we talk about success, okay, and I've done a lot of things in my life, okay? True success to me is freedom. It's freedom to choose, okay? Right now, I could choose to go to Ramey's and buy a new car. But I choose not to because mine's got 150,000 miles and it's paid for.
Right.
Okay? To me, that's freedom.
Yeah.
And I think some people, I've got a family member a while back and I was talking to him, it makes more money than I ever made. And talking about doing some other things and making more money. I said, you don't need to make more money, you need to spend less money.
Right.
Okay? I think the whole thing in life is to live below your means, not at your means.
Right.
And if you can dial it back just a little bit, and you can sort of now listen. If I've ever done anything too much, it was buying vehicles. Okay, because I used to buy a lot of vehicles, and there's not a good investment. Nothing about a car is a good investment.
No.
Okay, if you're not selling it, it's not a good investment. And but I think so many people, and this, I'm real big. You know, my house is 850 square feet. Okay, I love a small house. It's so much better.
That's what I was going to say.
I've had big house, 3-story house. But a little house to me, I think so many times people get too big a house.
Too much stuff.
And then the first thing with your kids, they don't all need a bedroom and a bathroom and a private entrance. Those kids need to leave. They don't need to stay with you, okay? They don't need. Now, Janice said she'd love to have a hub house where all of us could live together. I said, yeah, there'd be more fights than you could shake a stick at. I said, I want them to go and be on their own.
Yeah.
An eagle doesn't add on to the nest.
Right.
They pull the feathers back so it's rough and they have to leave.
Right.
And I think sometimes what we do in life is with this success gives us freedom. And I like having the freedom to be able to. Sometimes we go and watch my grandson play ball. I drive 6 hours to watch him play a basketball game, and I'll drive 6 hours back home.
Yeah.
If I want to, I can stay all night somewhere, or I can put something on and drive home and just enjoy myself.
Yeah.
So the freedom to me is so important, and people, they get in such bondage financially.
It's not a blessing if you have to kill yourself for it. See, that's me. Like with Dad's house, you know, I have Dad's house, but it's. I want something smaller. I want something that's manageable. I want to be able to, you know, clean the house in just a little bit. I want less stuff. I want what I need, but not what I don't need.
Right.
You know, and I don't want a big yard. You know, Dad's got a big yard, and you know, I say Dad because it was where I grew up. But I'm too old to fix that that yard now. And this is what I say: when you have a nice lawnmower and you're mowing that yard, and you're on a riding lawnmower, you know, you just praise the whole time. Lord, I just thank you for everything. You're so good to me, you know. And when you're pushing it, you're not so happy. You know, you're complaining. So I don't want to complain. You know, I want to live peaceful, small. I've always talked about a small house because I like a camper living too. I love it. I love the camper.
I'm more comfortable in the camper. Janice and I, when we go out in that camper, I am more comfortable. We sleep good.
Yeah.
We're just as comfortable. We pull over. I'm as comfortable in the Cracker Barrel parking lot.
Yeah.
And we laugh all the time about it. I don't know. And I think that you know,
it is more freedom though, isn't it? Because like there's not a lot of room in the refrigerator, so you go out and you buy what you want to eat that day, and you come home and you put it on the grill, you fix it, and then you do your dishes, and you're done. You know, and it's like I told Mom about Christmas. I'm like, we don't have to have like 15 dishes, and have bowls this big because really we're not going to eat this much. Let's do like a little bit. But, when you cook for a crowd all the time, it's hard to...
Yeah, I know. We'll have 25 people at Christmas at the house, in the 800-square-foot house, and we all just pile back. And Janice all the time, she wants to have more room for this and that. And I said, honey, they remember this stuff, and they don't mind a bit.
No.
And she tries to really make sure... Now, I'm not as good. She tries to make sure everybody's got a chair. And I said, they'll be okay. And she says she counts every chair and every person, make sure we got everything laid out like that. But the freedom... to me, I think is so missed in people's lives, and it's bigger houses and more money in this car, and more money in this stuff, and I'm thinking, man, and you can just get so far off, and then you're in such bondage.
Yeah, it's like keeping up with the Joneses, but you're miserable.
Yeah,
I just want to be like I want. To owe nobody nothing.
Right.
So I've made the decision. I am going to sell Dad's house this summer. I'm gonna just get rid of it.
Yeah.
You know, Brandon's dad just passed,
Yeah.
and it's with him passing, and you know, you look back and this house is like mine and my brother's,
Right.
and I'm like, that's a mess.
Yeah,
Let's
yeah.
get that done.
I know exactly what you're talking
You know.
about. You know, I had got rid of everything, all my property, every piece of property I got rid of, and took my kids. I deeded everything to them. The house I live in is deeded to Colson and Chris.
Mm-hmm.
They cut the grass. First thing is I couldn't sell it because it's right beside of them.
Right.
I just went to the lawyer. I deeded all that to them. Got every piece of property. And then when my dad died, he's got all this property, and here I am back in the middle of all this. And I have worked to sell and get rid of those things and give the money to Mom to do whatever she wants to do with, and you know, to get rid of all these things, because I said I don't want this. I don't want to have it. I'm so happy in the camper. And I told Janice, I said, if something happened to you, every kid better have a sewer and a water hookup in their driveway for me,
Right.
because I'm going to be in this camper.
Yeah.
I like that kind of, and
I like
because
it too.
life is a chapter. You have chapters in life.
Yeah.
The point I'm at now.
I've had
this
a
is
lot of
what I like.
chapters.
See, but you think about that. You went from chapter to chapter,
Yeah.
place to place. And it's okay.
It's okay.
It's okay, man. You don't have to say, well, that doesn't mean it's failure after failure. It means it's a new chapter.
That's right.
It's a new chapter. And I've run into
A very
lot of-
interesting book.
Well, AI would have to write it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So we talk about when you're giving people advice, I think that, that to me is that freedom is success.
I agree with that.
And and you can try to make more money, and you'll spend what you make.
That's the
You know,
truth.
I can think of times in my life I've made a lot of money at different points and things, and it's all gone. It was okay, but it was just there to spend.
Mm-hmm.
Well, let's talk.
And
about,
nobody's ever happy. It's either you don't have enough or
Yeah.
you have too much, and you I got all this money. Why don't we do something with it? No, like you said, let's just cut back some.
Yeah. I know people I've got friends that are very successful that never can really have freedom.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and they have more money than I'll ever have, but they never have freedom. They're always under this burden, this yoke. And then when they do things, you spend so much money, you feel like you have to,
Yeah.
and then you want to be able. And I've always been of the nature, and I don't know, there'll be people disagree with me, and that's okay. But a big house is not worth anything unless you can brag on it.
Right.
Okay, I mean, why have it if you can't brag on it?
Mm-hmm.
And
And why have it if nobody comes?
if nobody's going to come,
If nobody's going to visit,
Yeah.
why have one?
Yeah. So I mean, I don't know.
I mean, I've decorated for years at Daddy's, and my brother hasn't even been in that house in years.
Right.
So I'm like, I kill myself
Yeah.
decorating every room, and
Yeah.
I'm like, man, I'm getting tired.
And and it's your fault.
Yeah.
You do it, and so you
You do it to
So
yourself.
when you think about those things, and I don't know, future. Let's talk about a future. What do you want to do? What is in your mind in your future? What is sticking out?
Well, I think I might have missed my calling with people like nursing. I should have done that years ago, and I'm probably too old to do that. But I love doing that.
All
I
right,
love taking care of people.
But let's stop right there, okay? I mean, you're not too old if you want to do it.
Yeah.
I mean, really.
But I'm like, y'all, I hated school.
Well, I don't like school. I don't like it.
Me either.
But nowadays, there's so many ways to help people
Yeah.
without getting that kind of education that you
That's
could
true.
do. If your primary goal is just to help people and be good to people, and you've always had that part of you about helping, which is a gift, okay?
Yeah.
But to be able to help people and do those kind of things, I just, and it's good to have I believe if you don't have a plan, you'll never know. When you get there, you won't know you're there.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and if you don't have a plan for life, plan for your money, a plan. Now, I've always taught my kids, you got your 1 year, 2 year, 5 year plan.
Mm-hmm.
What I want to do, so I know when I get there if I've achieved anything.
That's
I'll
true.
move my plan a little bit and change it around a little bit. I can always flexible to change it, but when you think about that, you could do that.
Well,
Okay.
I took care of Mr. and Miss Young. I
Right. Mm-hmm.
took care of them for years. I probably took care of them for, I don't know, probably 5 years. And I loved it. It
Right.
wasn't like a job. We had
Right.
fun.
Right.
We worked, but we played too. And I mean, I took care of a lot of people. I took care of a lot of people in North Carolina. I was a nanny. I took care of all kinds of kids. I've raised my neighbors' kids and my kid and everybody else's kid. So I was a nanny down there. And I don't know. That's something I want to do. And I'm thinking about maybe going to the hospital and working somehow in a hospital. I don't know why. I was a pink lady in Mooresville at the hospital, volunteer, because I was too old to be a candy striper. But I loved it, I mean, it was simple and I liked it.
So you think in your future that's sort of what you're shooting at?
I think that's what I'm going to be doing. Because I mean, I'm not happy unless I'm taking care of somebody.
Right.
And I know that sounds weird, but that's what makes me happy.
Yeah.
I mean, if I can take care of somebody and make somebody else happy, it makes me happy.
Yeah, and I think that's, if you can see that in your future,
Yeah.
and if you can see your future, you'll know when you get there where you're at. And I think so many people don't even, you can change it. You can always change it. You can say, hold on, I think I'll be a prison guard. I was going to work in a hospital.
Yeah.
But I mean, you can
Right.
you can change it. And I think when you shoot for that, you got, all right, so let's talk about future, when you see those kind of things, you're really helping people and doing those things. And not just helping, but specifically we're
Right.
talking about that. So let's talk about something. I know I shared this with Dwayne before. When we think about being passionate about something, I think if we're not careful, and again, I'm not talking about praising Jesus.
Right.
Okay? I mean life outside the pulpit,
Right.
life outside the doors, because a lot of people never have a plan for that.
Right.
I know a lot of defeated, good Jesus people.
Exactly.
Okay?
Yes.
Families in a wreck, kids in jail, everything gone to heck in a handbasket.
Right.
Broke, couldn't manage pop bottles.
Right.
And so I'm talking about something you're passionate about. Is there anything in your mind that you think is there,
Well, I always loved my little shop. I always loved, I love making candy. And, I work for Jeff. And it's kind of cool because I can sell to the customers that he deals with. And it's just been really good.
Yeah.
I like making desserts. And I love the food truck. I want to do the food truck on the side. That's something I want to do.
Right.
I don't think I'll ever.
I'd like to have a hot dog cart.
Yeah, I mean, I
Not a
don't
whole
think I'll ever get
truck.
tired of that.
But not a whole truck. I would love to have just with the umbrella
Yeah,
and carry hot dogs and Polish sausages.
yeah.
And I have looked, man, I'm on
We
Marketplace
should just
all
get
the
a
time.
horse trailer, one of those little bitty ones.
Oh, I
Coffee
see that.
shops. Did you see that?
I see that.
I was thinking today, I told Mom, I said, Mom, look at that coffee shop. We was at Beckley.
And what about lemonade?
Oh, yeah, I do lemonade.
People sell lemonade. I have studied that over and over and over. I got all kinds of links on YouTube
Yes.
and TikTok. I study lemonade, how people make lemonade. I'm thinking,
I done that in my truck, like strawberry lemonade.
Yeah.
They're like, that's the best lemonade ever. And I'm like,
and it makes money.
I know, lemonade and strawberry lemonade,
Yeah.
raspberry lemonade. I made all that in my truck.
Well, I think entrepreneurship is something to be passionate about.
Yeah, it is.
Okay, and my son told me one time, because I had way too many businesses. He said, "You are a serial entrepreneur, Dad, and it's not good."
I got that problem.
So I had to start. I got rid of things and whittled things back. But when I think about things that I would love, and I'm at 66, I'm a little old to have a hot dog cart, but I would love to have one.
Well, if you get one, I'll run it.
Oh no! Let me write that down right here. Okay.
But
Well, don't think
seriously, seriously.
wouldn't it be cool? I mean, I think about that kind of thing. I love it.
I was always told, if people like you, they'll buy from you. So, you know what? You get the hot dog cart, I'll run it.
We'll do it.
And I'm serious.
I'll be on market.
And I make
Marketplace.
homemade hot dog chili.
Yeah.
We good.
I love it. Okay. I mean, I have always, and we would have to take a credit cards. That's the only thing that's aggravating nowadays. Used to be you had cash. That was a great day back when you took actual cash. Now you got to take Square. Have Square take.
Or Cash App.
Yeah, you have
You
to
could do Cash
something.
App.
Yeah, you have to do
because
something.
I've done that in my business. But
To be passionate about something, though. See, I don't know. I think we need passions in our life, or we'll find ourselves sort of stagnated.
right.
And we need to call these passions, okay? Not just feel them, but we need to call this a passion. Say, this is what I'm passionate about,
Yeah.
and call it.
Well, see, I'm like you. I love having my own business. And when I worked at the pizza place in War, there was that little building that sat straight across the road. I mean, it was as big as a nickel. I mean, it was very small. And I was like, I'd like to get that because I like snap jewelry.
Right.
So I said, I wonder if he would rent me that building. He says, you'll never get that building. So he come in and I said, Bill, I said, would you rent me that building over there? He said, what do you want that building for? I said, I want it for my jewelry. And he said, yeah. I said, how much? He said, $50 a month.
Yeah.
I took that little building
Right.
and I made a killing in that
Right,
building,
right.
selling snap jewelry.
Yeah.
And I mean, on Valentine's Day,
Right.
I was like, I'll sell candy and my jewelry.
Right.
And I was making, and this is God's truth, I can't believe it. I made like $1,500 in 2 days in War,
Yeah.
selling jewelry and candy.
See?
And people were standing outside the door because they couldn't get in. The building was so
Yeah,
little.
yeah.
So Bill said, well, I'll build you a bigger building.
Right.
So he built the bigger building. I said, you know what? We'll do candies and we'll do jewelry. And it was awesome. I mean, and he designed it exactly the way I wanted. I wanted
Right.
black and white tile floor,
Right.
pink stripes, and it was so pretty. And
Yeah.
I mean, it was great. I mean,
Yeah.
people didn't have anything, down there.
I think it's,
I loved it.
Stuff like that to me is, I mean, we used to own the hole in the wall at War.
Mm-hmm.
We owned half of it down the middle,
Right.
and we didn't know it for years. Harry Gates was getting the rent off of it. It was just an alley, and
Yeah,
our property
I
line
remember.
come down the middle, and he owned half of it, and we owned half of it. But you think about how much money was made there at that hole in the wall.
At that hole in the wall. I
That's
remember going there when I was a
that's
kid.
That's that place selling, and everybody could talk about the hot dogs all they want, but that was the greasiest hot dog chili in the whole world. And long hamburgers, they called it. You get a long hamburger or a long, I mean, there's stuff, but I think the simplicity. I think that's where sometimes, even like it's easy to do what you've done, you get to start doing more, okay?
Yeah.
And somehow we can overload.
Overwhelm.
Yeah, overload instead of
Yeah.
drawing a line and
Yeah.
saying, this is what I'm going to do. If I'm going to sell bagels, I'm going to sell bagels.
Exactly, and that's
Okay.
where that's what I was thinking. Like when I started the food truck this year, I thought, well, I'm going to do lemonades, and I'm going to do like 2 or 3 ice creams,
Right.
and that's pretty much what I done.
Right.
I didn't like try to do food and everything, but
Right.
because when I was at the store, I would do hamburgers, and I said I want something different.
Yeah.
I don't want just a regular hamburger.
Right.
You wanted a Big John, but
Right.
I wanted something different. So I took a flour tortilla, and I put my hamburger on it, and I folded it 4
Right.
times, and
Right.
people loved that.
Yeah.
It was amazing.
Low carb burger.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's what I said.
Low
I said I could do low carb or I could do
Yeah.
fat,
Yeah, right.
Your choice, but you're going to pay more if it's not got
Well,
anything
see,
in it.
passion.
Yeah.
Okay, and I believe entrepreneurship can be a passion because a lot of people do not belong in their own business. Okay, they have no business being a business for themselves.
Yeah.
You just, you don't. I've had several businesses that I come out broke even on. Like one time, I had a friend of mine come to me and he said, "Let's do a game store." Well, I don't play games. I don't have a game on my telephone. I just don't. I don't play. I just don't do it. I'm not good at it, and I'm not competitive at it. I don't do. But anyway, I said okay, so I did. We opened a game. I said, "How much money do we need?" He said, "Well, we need $10,000." And I said, "Okay, we'll partner up. Here's $10,000. You run it. Let's see what we do." And so we went on for about a year, and really didn't see any profit. I didn't see him making any money. I wasn't making any money. Colson seemed to enjoy it. All of them went down there and played games at night. But I said, took the key. So I said, then he come to me, he said, "I'd like to buy you out." He said, "How much do you want?" I said, "I'll take $10,000. He gave me a cashier's check, and I felt like it was success.
Right, because
I broke even. I had the AT&T franchise here in Tazewell one time.
See, that's what Brandon wants to do.
Okay. I had the franchise here in Tazewell. Had the contract, had everything. Down here at the railroad crossing, I went in, painted it the orange, and set it all up, got everything ready, all ready to go. Went Jack Harry, everything's rented. Then I got to reading the contract. And I told him, I said, wasn't much on school. I said, but it looks to me like that if I buy a phone from you, it's $125. But you can sell it to somebody else that comes in for $100. So how am I going to make money if I have to give you $125 and you're going to sell it to them for $100? I said, it looks like I'm competing against the people I'm buying the apples off of.
Right.
Yeah. I said, I tell you what I'm going to do. I said, I know exactly right today how much money I'm going to lose by not signing this contract. I know what I've done. I know what I've already spent. But in a year, I won't be able to figure out how much money I've lost. And see, so many people in business, they don't know, okay? And the numbers are not lying to you. I'll give about anything a year.
Yeah.
But when I looked at that, I said, I really don't believe this. Well, they said, no, you. I said, no, I've not signed a contract. And I sent it all back to them and got out of it. But I think entrepreneurship and being passionate about that is so important. And it really can be fun, okay, if you like doing it. But when you get to where you don't like doing it, stop it. Stop it.
Well, like the Blackbird, that is my dream.
Right.
Because, I like presentation to me is everything.
Right.
And you go in there and you look at that beautiful case and you see all those beautiful desserts.
Right.
You don't look at the work behind those beautiful desserts.
Exactly.
All you're seeing
Yeah.
is the case full of goodies.
Yeah.
And that's my passion.
Yeah.
I love that.
Janice likes it. I don't like to go because I'm not that creative. When I get something, I just have a glazed donut, Krispy Kreme.
You're like, Mom, that's what Mom gets.
Janice and them, they love to go, and we argue about it all the time. But I'm so content.
Well, I hate to say this, but me and Mom went to Dunkin' Donut today, and I said, Mom, what kind of donut you want? She said, just a glaze. I'm like, just a glaze? I was like, I go in there, I'm like, okay, I want one of those chocolate donuts with the white cream filling.
Right.
We don't sell those anymore. I said, what? No, we don't sell those anymore. I said, what about lemon? We don't sell this. Dunkin' Donut don't sell lemon or the cream in the middle.
Yeah.
And I'm like, really?
You know what set Krispy Kreme on the market was? They were the first people to make a uniform donut. That every donut was made the same. Wow. They were the first one. From then on, people made them by hand, and donuts were none of them were ever the same.
I love
They
Krispy
were the
Kreme.
first people to make them that were all uniform. And I don't know. I've watched a lot of their stuff, and I've seen it. I've watched documentaries on them and things like that. And Dwayne said I'm full of useless information.
I tell Brandon that all the time. I say, Brandon, you got so much useless information in your mind.
Yeah.
But you know what? If you think about donuts, that's a really good business
When
too.
I go to the state fair, and I go up there and stand there and watch them little donut machines, and Janice and I come home every time.
And you don't have
saying,
any waste. The donut hole, you can sell those too.
Janice and I come home and say, we need us a donut machine.
Yes.
We talk about it for at least 2 days or on the way home,
Yeah.
and then we forget about it and go on and do something else. But, and I would love to do some things, but I don't know, man, I'm at a point in my life that I'm enjoying the freedom.
Yeah.
And I like being able, we have actually sit there at home before. Kids come over and eat lunch, and everybody eats supper together. And be 8 o'clock, and I say, let's go to Myrtle Beach. And I go out there and put 50-gallon of water in the camper. And by that, 6 hours later, I'm sitting at Myrtle Beach at the Cracker Barrel, sleeping there for the night. But, to me, that is worth so much to have that freedom and not have to be able to. And I think if people are not careful, it's so easy. It's not it's always been like that.
Yeah.
They miss that freedom that you can go do stuff. I remember one time we had went, and my poor little kids, I drug them up and down the road. Anytime we get a little room on a credit card or get some money in our pocket, we would go somewhere. I would always go. My dad never would do anything like that, but he just wasn't a traveler, okay? But we would go somewhere, and we were at Pigeon Forge one time. We was at Pigeon Forge in the motel. We took a little dog with us. We had a little old brown Chihuahua dog. Anyway, we had just got enough money on my credit card to get a room. We're down in the swimming pool swimming like the Clampets, just having ourselves a big time, okay? Janice opens the door, and the dog takes off out of the room down the hallway that we had snuck in, okay? She dives through the air and catches it, puts it back. A few minutes later, we're down there at the swimming pool, all of us swimming. Again, just enjoying ourselves, little kids. And they come down and say, are you John Dash? And I said, yes. They said, we're kicking you out because of the dog.
Oh, my gosh.
And they kicked us out. Well, we couldn't get another room because I didn't have no more money. Now think, I had just enough money to go to Pigeon Forge.
Yeah.
Not a 401k.
Right.
But just enough money to take them kids down there, go to Dollywood, stay there till it closed, go to the motel that night and swim in the pool and do all these things. So all the kids, we took them back to the room, put their little pajamas on. They're saying, where are we going? They said, well, we just think we need to go home. We drove back to
Did they give
Tazewell.
your money back?
No, they kicked us out. Said they were going to have to fumigate the room now. It's a big gimmick.
Oh,
but anyway, but they had the best time. The kids
Yeah.
did, and they remember stuff and having that freedom, man.
Yeah.
If you could do, and it's never too old to have it.
No, I agree with that.
It's never too old.
That's why if you do a business, it should be like you said. You pick one thing.
Yeah.
Do one thing.
Yeah.
Don't try to expand on everything. Because my wheels are always turning. My
know.
pastor told me, he said, your wheels are always turning.
We opened 8 restaurants and never borrowed money.
Wow.
Janice and I, we never borrowed any money.
I think I worked at probably most of them.
we never
Because I
borrowed-
worked at Claypool Hill,
Yeah.
worked at War, I worked at Tazewell, I worked at the Silver Scale. That's at least half.
Yeah. See, we had 2 at Richlands, and 2 at Claypool Hill, 2 and 1 at Richlands too. And
I worked at the one
I
in the
never
mall.
borrowed any money. We
Wow.
made it out. We operated out of our pocket, and I had a guy come in, wanted to buy me out one time, and he wanted to see my business plan. I said, I didn't know I was supposed to have such a thing. I never had no business plan.
Mm-hmm.
I just said if I could make money and found another location, Janice would be working at one, I'd find another one. She said, what are you doing? I said, I found us another place to put a restaurant. We go someplace. But I don't know. I was always passionate about those things, and it was a season in my life.
See, I'm like that too, because when I went to North Carolina, I worked at preschool.
Mm-hmm.
So I done preschool and after school. Well, then the parents would come in and I'd be screaming as loud as the kids, and they're like, will you be our nanny? I'm like, sure, I'll be your nanny. So I went from that to being a nanny.
Right.
And it was a lot more money in being a nanny because these people owned airplanes
Right.
and $3 million homes, and they bought me mink coats and Biltmore wine and all that stuff. And I went from being a nanny, and they would say, I would take the kids to the bus stop, and the parents would say, do you clean houses? I'm like, sure. So I would, nanny during the day,
Right.
and then when the kids went to school, I was free.
Yeah.
So I would go clean somebody's house, and I opened up a cleaning business. And they said,
I remember you telling me.
Yeah,
you did that.
do you do overnight stays? I'm like, sure. And I would go to these $3 million homes and stay all night, and the kids were great. They were grown. I mean, all I had to do was, be there. And, of course, I was like them. I acted just like them. But, I mean, it was like one thing led to another, and I'd done everything, jack of all trades, master of none.
Yeah,
But, I made a lot of money.
See, but being resourceful.
Yeah.
See, I can build a house. I can wire one, plumb one. I can do everything I need to do. I can always, and I think to me, being resourceful, and that scares me a lot about a generation of people. That scares me because I'm hoping that they'll catch a little more as they go along. Even my grandkids and grandsons, I hope they can be resourceful, and I hope they can work in that direction and be able to. To do those things, and because see that part like you're talking about with you, and to be able to look toward that and say, all right, I can do, instead of turning around saying what's going to happen, who's going to help me, or how, saying, all right, let me go after it.
Yeah, you get short of money, you're like, you know what? I'm just going to post online. Anybody want chocolate?
Yeah.
And people love to get candy apples in the middle of the fall
Yeah,
or the spring.
But I used to when I worked at McDonald's on the way home, I had business cards made with dash driveway sealing, and every asphalt driveway I would stop on the way home while I was a manager at McDonald's and give them a business card to seal their driveway. I was always looking for those kind of things. And the only thing I did run into one time, Janice is working ever since she's a little girl, and I always took care of herself. And but when we got married, I decided I didn't want her to work anymore. I said, you've worked long enough. I want you to take time off. I want you to do this. Well, that was a mistake. Because I would come home and she would want to talk. And I didn't want to talk, okay? She would blah, 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 blah. How was your day? Sit down and tell me how you... I don't want to sit down. I want to watch Andy Griffin on the TV, okay?
Yeah.
But she would want to talk, constantly talk stuff. And I thought, oh, Lord. And I didn't know when I married her she was talking. And I just thought she was cute.
She was a worker at John Boy's. I remember her being
She said,
pregnant.
oh, man.
She was huge, and she was killing herself.
Listen, she would do it. I mean, she didn't.
She did.
She's a way better worker than I am. But anyway, she wanted to talk all the time. So I come home. So finally, I stopped at the short stop on Stony Ridge, and Donna Sheets, who I'd known forever, Jim Ramey's daughter. I said, my wife needs a job. Mm-hmm. And she said, well, have her come in and fill out an application. I said, no, Donna, that's not the way it works. I said, she needs a job. Well, we can talk. I said, no. She said, okay. have her come in tomorrow. She's got a job. And I said, okay. And I went home and told Janice, okay, you got a job. And she started up on Stony Ridge and started to work up there.
And what was she doing?
And she's working the shortstop. And then went to work. And then she'd come over to Tazewell and went to work over there at the shortstop over there. But I said, my God, because she just wanted to just talk and talk.
Well, when I first come back to West Virginia, when I had to come back many years ago, when I come back, I was putting up Christmas decorations, and I was all by myself, and I was like, God, how long am I going to have to do this by myself? He goes, I don't know, you going to sit here till you die? I said, you know what, I'm not. And it was pouring the snow, and I had a Camaro, and I said, I'm going to Rainey's and get me a job. I never sold cars, but sold everything else. I was like, surely I could sell cars. So I said, I'm going to Rainey's, and I got in that car, pouring the snow, went to Rainey's, and I said, Jonathan, I need a job. He goes, okay. So he interviewed me, and then he goes, well, I'm going to let somebody else interview. They interviewed me, and they said, we're going to give you a job. I said, okay. I said, I have no clue what I'm doing. All I know is I like people.
Right.
I can talk to people. And they said, okay, I'll tell you what. All you have to do is take the application. You sell the car, take the application, and we'll do the business part of it. I said, I got you.
Right.
So this one man, he come on the lot, and he didn't look like he had anything, and nobody went outside, but I did because I like people. I won't talk to anybody. So I go out, and he goes, this is what I want. He said, I want a stripped-down truck. He said, I want nothing in it. I want rubber floors, and I didn't know nothing about cars. I couldn't lift the hood and say, look at this motor, I didn't know anything about it. I didn't know anything, and I would always say, God, look at this glove box. It's got so much room in it. I mean, you could store a whole six-pack in there. But, or I'd say, look at this upholstery.
Right.
It's so great.
Right. Yeah.
And I could sell a car. But this guy, I took him out, and he goes, and he was an older guy. He goes, I'm not buying a car today. I said, okay. I said, that's fine. So he told me what he wanted. I took him in a stripped-down truck. We drove down the road, and he started telling me what kind of car he had. I said, you want a stripped-down truck? Seriously? You're telling me you had this vehicle, and you had all this stuff on it, and you asked for it. I said, let me show you something else.
Yeah.
And I didn't have a clue what I was doing, but I showed him an Equinox.
Right.
And no, it was an Acadia. And he bought that car, and he bought all kinds of accessories, and the guys are like, I can't believe you. And I didn't know a bit more about anything, but I just listened to him.
Yeah.
And they always say the first one talks loses. So that's what I tell Brandon all the time. I was like, Brandon, the first one talks loses, so keep your mouth shut. But I sold him a car, and we become friends. And that's the way the Rainbow was. If I sold a Rainbow, we become friends, so I could sell a product.
Yeah.
It just works out
Well,
that way.
that's what I can't remember some of the. I was watching on the Singer sewing machine, and how Singer had the government came to them to get their database because they had such a database on people.
Yeah.
How many people was in the home and all these things. And the main thing Singer said, it didn't matter how much money they made on sewing machines when they back up and sold them more thread.
Exactly.
And needles. And how they come back month after month and sold supplies. And that they kept such a database on people, though, that they had more information than the government had.
So that's the way I was with my customers. I always call and say, y'all have that fragrance yet for y'all's vacuum cleaner? Because I could run it out there. I'm not that far.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'd sell product. And they always say, rule of thumb, if they follow you to the car, you've made a sale. And they really like you.
Yeah.
So once you make friends with people, I mean,
absolutely.
It's just the way it works.
Now, the only thing in closing that's dangerous is in love.
Yeah.
Because you can be such a salesman
Yeah.
that we can sell ourselves.
Yeah.
Okay? And that can be dangerous.
You're right.
Okay? I mean, we can sell ourselves, and it just makes such an open market for us.
It does.
Because we can turn back around, and you never know when to stop selling.
That's true.
Okay? You don't know. You can't really just shut it off.
You have to.
And you're just thinking, I can't stop selling. And you can do it. But I think entrepreneurship, like I said, be passionate about it. And I know that's where you're at.
Yeah.
Okay, that part of that. I think the thing is you have to set rules when you do it, though. I don't know if you're that good at that.
I'm not.
Okay.
Because my
you
wheels,
want to
like
sell
I said.
fudge, and then you want to sell jewelry, and then you want to sell this, and somehow, and that'll put you end up putting yourself right out because you get bored.
You do.
Okay.
And it's a lot of work.
See, I done that.
The more you do, the more work you got. The more you sell, the more work
That's
you
the reason
got.
I had so many restaurants, I got bored. I
Yeah.
wanted to open another one. I wanted to do another one. I'd go in and build one and do one and build one and do one, and felt like that was something I had to do.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, I have enjoyed this. And I told you it would be hard. You
was
kept
so
saying,
nervous.
I don't know. But we'll sit down again later.
Okay.
Okay. And you'll think of things you wish you'd have said.
Yeah.
Okay. And I'll think of questions I wish I'd have asked. And listen, I think we should share. Okay. People need to hear things. Okay. And what's our worry anyway? I'll share and I'll talk to people and I'll share things because I figure at my age, what the heck, man? I'm going to do it if I want to. I'm not going to hurt anybody.
Right.
I'm going to be good to people when people don't want me to be good to them.
Yeah, I've been there.
And then going about but if I can't, I'm going to leave you alone.
Yeah.
I'm just going to back up real easy and get out of the room. And the best fight that you ever can be into one that you're not in.
That's true.
I just want to ease back, let people have their own. It's all right. It's America. My daddy says, like the man that kissed a cow, to each his own. And
Yeah.
that's exactly the way I look at it.
I sure miss
All right.
him.
Thank you, Cynthia. Adios.
I miss him.